Tonight, the confession and the alleged plans for a second attack. Top story, live from Highland Park, Illinois. The 21-year-old suspect appearing before a judge today. Authorities say he confessed in detail to the shooting at a July 4th parade and even considered a second attack in another American city. Tragic details emerging about the victims, including the 2-year-old boy, now without both of his parents. A GoFundMe set up to help him, exploding with donations, more than $2 million pledged and counting. And the mounting questions tonight about how the alleged shooter was able to legally obtain 5 weapons despite a history full of red flags, including a visit from police because he was threatening to kill people. What his family's lawyer told me. Plus, the chilling new details in another mass shooting. A new report finding a Uvalde police officer missed multiple chances to stop the gunman before he entered the school. The officer thought he needed permission to fire, but investigators say that was not the case. Dangerous storm strike, the dash cam capturing the moment a car was struck by lightning on a Florida highway. A possible tornado already touching down in Ohio. Damage and widespread power outages reported. Nearly 30 million people now in the storm zone. Spy warning. The FBI and its British counterpart accusing China of using a large-scale global hacking network to steal Western technology. The concern about TikTok and how China could be getting access right from your phone. Race against time. The man locked inside a burning car due to an electrical issue with the vehicle. How 3 officers finally pulled that driver to safety. And the scare on stage. Carlos Santana collapsing mid-set. An update tonight on the rock legend's condition. Top story starts right now. And good evening. We are live again tonight from Highland Park, Illinois, on a street that was once a parade route. And now, as you can see, the scene of a mass shooting. They have taken away some of the folding chairs and the strollers that were left behind, but residents here are still coming here, and they're leaving with tears in their eyes 2 days later. This community still grappling with all that loss as the 21-year-old suspect made his first court appearance. Prosecutors say he confessed to unleashing a hail of bullets on the July 4th parade, killing 7 people and injuring dozens more, and that he considered another attack as he crossed state lines. The suspect's ability to legally obtain several firearms, despite encounters with police, adding fuel to the country's already raging gun debate. We're also learning more tonight about the victims, including the couple that was killed, leaving behind a 2-year-old son. A memorial now growing in the Chicago suburb, a familiar sight in this country, another city consumed in grief, focusing on the lives lost.
Tonight, officials say Robert Crimo III has confessed, telling police he's the man behind that horrific attack on a holiday parade that killed 7 and injured dozens more.
His statement was voluntary. He went into details about what he had done.
Police also saying Crimo considered a second shooting in Wisconsin, where he drove following the attack in Highland Park.
He seriously contemplated using the firearm he had in his vehicle to commit another shooting in Madison.
While no motive has been made public, police have a theory as to why Crimo chose July 4th as the date of the attack. The numbers 4 and 7 visible on this car parked outside of his home.
He had some type of affinity towards the number 4 and 7, and inverse was 7-4.
The 21-year-old suspect made his first appearance in court today, appearing virtually. He's being held without bond, facing 7 counts of first-degree murder, with more charges likely. And tonight, questions are growing about how Crimo was able to buy 5 weapons legally, despite being on the radar of law enforcement. I spoke to Steve Greenberg, who is representing Crimo's parents.
People are upset with the alleged shooter's parents. They're telling me, how did they not know something like this wasn't going to happen? Do the parents in this situation bear some responsibility?
We could always look at an event and then in hindsight say, oh, these were the warning signs. There is no history of him ever engaging in a single violent act. It's easy to say now, well, the parents should have known, but the fact is that nobody knew, nobody saw anything because there was nothing to see.
Tonight, Highland Park mourns 7 lives cut short, including 69-year-old Eduardo Uvalde, who died this morning. His daughter says he was shot in the back of the head while attending the parade with his family. And Katie Goldstein. Lester spoke yesterday with her heartbroken daughter, Cassie.
I could see her face, and she was not breathing. and there was blood everywhere down the steps. And so I knew she was dead. And then they had to take me away in a police car, and I had to spend the day covered in her blood.
2-year-old Aiden McCarthy survived, but his parents, Kevin and Irina, did not. The Chicago Sun-Times reporting Kevin's heroic final act, shielding his young son from the bullets.
The little boy, which now everyone knows is Aiden, was underneath the father.
Tony and Irina Colon are part of the McCarthy's extended family. They felt compelled to help little Aiden, so they started a GoFundMe for the little boy. The donations taking off like wildfire, growing from a few thousand to now more than $2 million.
It's so overwhelming. People are donating not just money, they're donating everything, like their time, babysitting, wipes, everything.
And we should mention that couples receiving donations from all over the world. Going back to what happened in court today with the alleged shooter, prosecutors here continue to say the suspect could face additional charges, including attempted murder for all those people that were injured out here on the parade route. If he is convicted, he faces life in prison without parole. So the big question tonight, how was this suspect able to buy these weapons despite his past threats and encounters with police? NBC's Pete Williams has more.
Anyone wanting to buy a gun or ammunition in Illinois must first get a firearm owner's identification card issued by the state police. It can be denied if the applicant, quote, poses a clear and present danger to the community. State police say they were notified in 2019 when Highland Park police were called to Robert Cremo's house and told he was threatening to kill people. They confiscated several knives. But in a statement, state police say because no one was arrested and no one in the family made a formal complaint, the matter was concluded. They also say Cremo told the local police at the time that he did not feel like harming himself or others. And they say the knives were actually returned to Cremo's father later that day because he said they belonged to him. The father's lawyer says there was no threat.
When the police got there, everyone said the situation wasn't dangerous, it was overblown. The police didn't perceive it to be a dangerous situation.
3 months later, Cremo applied for a firearm owner's ID. Because he was 19, he needed a parent's permission, and police say his father signed the consent form. The state police say there was nothing then to indicate that Cremo presented, in the words of a state law, a clear and present danger. If there had been, the card would not have been issued. Advocates of stricter gun control say people in the community and police officers need to be more aware that they can seek to block a person from having or buying guns under the Illinois red flag law.
Obviously, the police at one point felt that it was absolutely necessary to take the knives away. This was somebody who said that he was threatening to kill everyone, and you present the evidence before a judge.
All right, Pete Williams joins us now live from Washington tonight here on Top Story. So, Pete, I know you and the investigative team have been tracking all of the information and all the evidence that has come out from state authorities, along with what the lawyer for the parents said, as we saw in your report and my earlier report as well. And I know you guys have also been looking at public records. So my question to you, Pete, is there anywhere where the state or local authorities dropped the ball when it came to the purchasing of those firearms?
It doesn't appear that there is, in the sense of missed opportunities or missed connections. The account of what happened in September 2019 with the complaint about the knives was forwarded to the Illinois State Police, but there was never any urgency attached to it. And I think, you have to argue that that starts with the parents and at home. The same question you asked the lawyer for the father. They apparently didn't seem concerned enough about this to raise a red flag law alert or to decline to sign the permit form when Robert Cremo, the younger, applied for a card to get firearms. So if there was a breakdown in the system, no, everything worked as it's supposed to under the law.
Okay, Pete, and then what about the requirement in the new federal law that calls for an enhanced background check for people under 21? Would that have made a difference?
Probably not. The new law does call for thoroughly checking a younger person's background for any juvenile convictions or mental health treatments or commitments, but the police say there were none of those in Cremo's record. Even so, the new law does provide money to encourage more use of red flag laws, Tom.
All right, Pete Williams with a lot of new reporting for us tonight here on Top Story. Pete, we appreciate that. With more on what is next for the suspect and the community of Highland Park. I'm joined by Lake County's state attorney and a resident of Highland Park, Eric Reinhardt. Eric, thank you so much for taking the time today to talk to us here on Top Story. My first question to you is, I think you stunned a lot of people with two pieces of information. One, there was a confession, and then also that there was plans for a second attack. What can you tell us about both those items?
Well, he was, first of all, I want to express my condolences to all of the families of Highland Park. As you said, I live here myself. This has been devastating to the community. We've also seen an unbelievable fortitude from the community. They've come together. We are receiving dozens of requests of how we can help. The mayor, the police chief, the first responders, everybody has been amazing. The Lake County Major Crimes Task Force solved this case in a matter of hours. The Illinois State Police, FBI, ATF, it was all hands on deck, and it worked. Now we need to do that for the victims. One of the ways we can do that is make sure that we prosecute Mr. Cremo to the fullest extent of the law, and I will do that. We will be seeking life. It is mandatory under Illinois law. We will not be negotiating down from that. That's my intent right now. And we will be seeking life for Mr. Cremo.
Talk to me about the confession. Did it take a long time? How forthcoming was he? And did he go into detail?
Yeah, he went into detail. I don't want to characterize his level of cooperation. He was treated well. It was a fully voluntary statement. He talked for a long time, and he went into a lot of detail.
And was this recorded on video as well as transcribed?
It was recorded on video, as is required by Illinois law. Yeah. That's a good law, so that nobody can say later on that something else was going on when it clearly wasn't.
And then the plans of the second attack, how much did that shock you? Because the speculation at first was that he was trying to go to Wisconsin to throw authorities off with the cell phone.
Yeah, those are details that are still developing in terms of that digital footprint, right? He says those things. There's some digital evidence of that, and that's really the evidence we have right now. He talked about that he had a plan to do that. Very alarming, unbelievable to think about another community reeling. Thank God that didn't happen.
And there was events over there that he could have attacked.
Yeah, my understanding is there were Independence Day events in Madison.
Okay.
That didn't happen, thank God, and it's very aggravating information to think about.
You're on the side of law enforcement. You're on the side of the state. Did the state and or law enforcement drop the ball anywhere when it came to the purchasing of those firearms? Clearly, this young man should not have been able to buy firearms.
He should not have been able to buy firearms. We shouldn't have a single point of failure. I think there should be an assault weapon ban in Illinois and in the United States. We put a lot of pressure on the system when we allow for these sorts of single points of failure. He was able to get the gun because that type of gun can be purchased legally. That's one problem. I agree with what Mr. Williams said a few moments ago, just here on your broadcast, that Highland Park reported it to the Illinois State Police. The Illinois State Police looked at it on a case-by-case basis. I haven't seen those reports yet myself. He had not had any contact with our court system, except for some traffic tickets or an ordinance violation. So he had not been on the court's radars, the juvenile system's radars. And the Illinois State Police did what they did, and I'd have to look at those records.
Let's move over to the parents. You heard from the parents' attorney there. I spoke to him at length yesterday, and he said, listen, they, of course, have lawyered up because they're being careful, and they want to have a lawyer. That is their right. He told me, listen, there were the parents, there were friends, there were teachers, there were coworkers. No one raised the red flags on this kid. I'm asking you this because are the parents possibly in legal jeopardy? Because in at least one case, they were the sponsor on the purchase of one of those weapons.
So again, you sort of get to that point of why is anybody able to buy this type of weapon? Why is a 21-year-old able to buy this type of weapon? We know that psychology shows that people are still developing into their mid-20s. That means that 21-year-olds shouldn't have these types of weapons. And so that's one concern. With respect to the responsibility, we are evaluating all aspects of this case. We're looking at a lot of time. We're looking at a broad period of time. And a lot of that is still developing in terms of our information.
Building a criminal case against the parents is not out of the question.
I'm not saying whether we're building or not building. We're evaluating an unbelievable amount of evidence right now.
You said you're from this community. You're dealing with something that is, everyone I speak to said is unthinkable here. Gun violence has targeted Americans all across this country. What's it like to sort of be in a position of power? You're going to have to prosecute this case, but you know you have a lot of people depending on you. More than 30 who were injured, of course, the 7 who died.
Yeah, as I said, for the seven, our condolences and our support. Our victim witness counselors have been here since yesterday. We'll be here as long as we need to be here. We're going to help them through the court process also. Every one of those victims, those 7 family members, the 30, they have a right to justice. We're all impacted by it, but we're staying focused, and we're staying focused on what we need to do to heal this community. There's a lot of work to do to heal. The thing that we need to do in the prosecutor's office is to make sure that we get justice and support those victims directly.
And before you go, we mentioned more than 30 people injured. Is it true you could possibly be seeking attempted murder charges against all those who were hurt out here in the parade route but survived?
And more. We will be seeking attempt murder charges for all of those individuals who were hurt and for others who were shot at, and an aggravated battery with a firearm for everyone who was hit. We will be seeking a lot of charges because Mr. Cremo caused a lot of damage.
Okay. Eric Reinhart, the Lake County prosecutor for us. Eric, we thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
Okay, we're also getting stunning new details tonight on the mass shooting at the elementary school in Uvalde, Texas. A new report finding a police officer had the opportunity to stop the gunman before he even entered the school. Here's Miguel Almaguer.
Just before the bloodshed at Robb Elementary, a Uvalde police officer had the gunman in his sights, but asked a supervisor for permission to shoot the suspect outside the building, a request that went unanswered as the killer made his way inside the school. The stunning revelation, part of a new report released today, reading in part, a reasonable officer would conclude that the use of deadly force was warranted, but the officer, who told investigators he was worried if he missed the shot, he might hit students, never took it, and 21 lives were lost. The 24-page report highlighting a number of possible missteps, critical issues investigators say that could have prevented the tragedy that followed. Miguel Almaguer, NBC News.
All right, we thank Miguel for that. We're also tracking another round of summer storms at this hour. A dash cam capturing the moment a bolt of lightning struck a deputy's patrol car on a Florida highway. That deputy managing to get away unharmed. And new video tonight of a possible tornado touching down outside of Cincinnati. Heavy damage seen across the area and tens of thousands of power outages already reported. Let's get right to meteorologist Bill Cairns, who's standing by for us. Bill, good evening.
Good evening, Tom. And we have 150,000 people without power right now from those storms that rolled from Ohio and Kentucky. That's where a majority of the power has been lost. And now we're watching those line of storms really pushing down through Virginia and North Carolina. It was just a hot, humid, summer-like day. And these thunderstorms have a lot of juice and energy to work with. So damaging winds and a lot of dangerous lightning. They just passed through Charlotte. Now they're approaching areas like Raleigh and just south of the Richmond area. So that's the threat for the rest of this evening. As we head into tomorrow, the same weather pattern exists. If you were really hot today, you're going to be really hot tomorrow. And if you saw thunderstorms today, there's a good chance you're going to see storms again tomorrow. About 30 million people at risk from Nashville to Charlotte to Richmond, all through the Carolinas, maybe even Atlanta getting into the mix, and also our friends in the northern Rockies. And how about the heat? This is different than our June heat wave. In June, it was just hot. It wasn't humid. Now we are hot and humid. 63 million people impacted. Everyone in that magenta color, those are extreme heat warnings. So that's where you want to make sure you limit your time outside. If you are outside, take breaks in the shade and definitely drink a ton of water. And let's see, even at this hour, who the hottest is. Memphis coming in feeling like 109 degrees. Little Rock at 106. You get the idea all through Texas and the southeast. Bitterly hot. Notice areas like Charlotte, North Carolina, you were this hot. That thunderstorm just cooled you off. So as we go into tomorrow, we're going to do it all over again. Another 100-degree day from Dallas to Little Rock to Nashville. It's easily going to feel like 110 in some areas. And then as we head towards Friday, not a lot changes. Dallas, that's a Phoenix-like temperature. 105 degrees. San Antonio, 102. And unfortunately, Tom, that continues. Dallas and Texas, this is a developing story as we go through the rest of the summer. The drought and the heat and its effects on everyone living there.
All right, that heat building all across the southeast. Bill Cairns for us. Bill, thank you. Now to the economy as Americans face the highest inflation rate in decades. Tonight, there are some signs of improvement. Oil prices dropping below $100 per barrel for the first time since May. The prices of other commodities like wheat and copper down too. But even President Biden today admitting the road to economic recovery could be a long one.
We got a long way to go because of inflation, because of I call it the Putin tax increase. Putin, because of gasoline and all that grain he's keeping from being able to get to the market. Now I'm fighting like hell to lower costs on things that you talk about around your kitchen table.
The Putin tax increase, I'm not sure that phrase is going to catch on like wildfire, but it's one explanation coming from the White House. For more on where the economy stands and the looming fears of a recession, I want to bring in now CNBC's Seema Modi. Seema, give us a gut check here. With the prices of at least some goods coming down, is this really a sign that inflation is cooling off, or is it simply a byproduct of those recession fears and a decrease in demand?
Well, oil dropping below $100 a barrel, Tom, that is significant, but it's often not the drop in the price of oil, but what's behind it that is important, right? And as you rightly said, the recession fears are now feeding through not just to the stock market, but the energy market as well, where investors are increasingly betting that oil prices will drop significantly and people will start to curtail their spending and how much they drive. A new report from Citi, analysts there now predicting oil to trade at $65 a barrel by the end of this year. And of course, the Fed has played a role here in weakening the demand story. And now the oil market certainly showing signs of that.
Yeah, I want to talk about two other key indicators for a moment. Unemployment and the mortgage rates, both of which seem to be heading in the right direction. How promising are the trends there? Are they here to stay?
Tom, it's a great point. The 30-year fixed rate did come down, but it's still above 5%, which a lot of analysts in the housing market say could continue to pressure the housing market here in the U.S. and price out those newer home buyers, given that, and we should also point out, the Fed is still expected to hike interest rates again in the July meeting, which starts on July 26th. So many people see the move in the fixed rate right now as more of a short-term blip. Now, the jobs market remains very hot. You and I have discussed this before. Employers posting 11.3 million job openings in April. That's down from the peak of 11.8 million. The June jobs report comes out this Friday. This will be a key report and will give us some clarity as to whether the inflation concerns, the recession that is expected to hit the U.S. economy at the end of this year, if it's starting to weaken the jobs report, any signs of that will be key as to whether perhaps the Fed could lighten up on its interest rate hike schedule. Tom.
And Seema, before you go, we know that the Fed, of course, enacted its highest interest rate hike since 1994 earlier this month in an effort to sort of ward off the recession and, of course, the runaway inflation. The minutes from the meeting they just had were released this afternoon. What stuck out to you?
So Fed officials at this meeting, they expressed optimism about the longer-term path of the economy. That's what stood out to me, though they did lower their GDP forecast sharply for 2022 to 1.7%. The previous estimate was 2.8%. That estimate came out in March. So just incredible to see how much of a downgrade to GDP growth can happen within a few months. But of course, it comes to this aggressive interest rate hike cycle that the Fed is embarking on. The Fed's number one goal, as they showed in their meeting minutes, is to fight inflation. And so another rate hike is likely in July, as they showed in their meeting minutes. In addition to that jobs report, Tom, that I was mentioning, next week we do get CPI. That's the Consumer Price Index. That is the gauge we use for inflation. So that will be key as well.
All right, Seema Modi for us tonight. Seema, thank you. Next up, President Biden stepping in to try and free WNBA superstar Brittany Griner from a Russian jail after growing pressure to intervene on her behalf. Griner detained since February on drug charges, writing to the president this week that she's, quote, terrified she might be stuck there forever. Chief Foreign Correspondent Andrea Mitchell reports.
After an emotional plea for help from Brittany Griner to President Biden and a letter from more than 1,100 black women leaders, the president and Vice President Harris called Brittany Griner's wife Sherelle today, promising all possible assistance to bring Brittany home. The WNBA superstar's head coach, Vanessa Nygaard, hearing the news from us.
Do you have any reaction to the president having called Sherelle after your pressure and all of the other things that we've been reporting?
To get that call from President Biden and Vice President Harris and to know that they've read the letter and that they're going to react and respond, this is great, great news, and we hope to have more progress continue.
In a desperate appeal, the two-time Olympic gold medalist had written Mr. Biden 2 days ago, "I'm terrified I might be here forever," facing a possible 10-year sentence after Russian authorities say vape cartridges containing cannabis oil were found in her luggage. Now the president has told Sherelle he's sending Brittany a personal letter today responding to her handwritten plea. That may relieve the pressure from Griner's team and friends who are rallying in Phoenix tonight. but not from the family of American businessman Paul Whelan, who the U.S. says has been wrongfully detained in Russia since 2018. His family telling NBC News tonight the White House outreach should be the same for all wrongful detainees, not just those with celebrity or connections.
All right, Andrea Mitchell joins Top Story now. So, Andrea, do you think this is about Russia wanting to swap someone for Brittany Griner, or is this about something bigger?
Well, U.S. officials think that this is the Russians grabbing innocent Americans off the street, accusing them of things, putting them on trial for months, and then wanting a prisoner swap and wanting to get a criminal, someone convicted in the U.S., and in this case, Victor Bout. That's who they really want. They want this arms dealer. He's close to Vladimir Putin. They've been trying to get him out. He's sentenced to 25 years for trading weapons to terrorist groups, in fact. That's what they really want, but most likely not until she's already convicted, and that could take weeks more of this lengthy trial. 99% of the people put on trial in Russia are convicted. It is not a free legal system like anything that we know back here.
And that, yeah, it's a stat that's troubling both Brittany Griner and, of course, her family and friends back here in the U.S. But, Andrea, I have to ask you, I mean, the entire world is essentially watching this game of chicken that is being played with an American life in Russian custody right now. If the Americans agree to a quote-unquote prisoner swap, and I want to remind our viewers, we just had a prisoner swap with Russia just a short time ago, does this essentially open the door to the U.S. being held hostage by other rogue regimes to essentially take Americans and put them in custody to get what you want out of the U.S.?
That's exactly the fear. Exactly, Tom. And the Russians have been doing this with success. And Trevor Reed, the former Marine you refer to, who got out in April in a prisoner swap, that only happened after his family protested in front of the White House demanding a meeting with the president. They then met with Cherelle Griner, Brittany's wife, and that's why she started amping up the pressure, she and the team and others, for a meeting with the president, because their view is that unless you meet with the president, you're not going to get this prisoner swap, you're not going to get the attention of the commander-in-chief. And the fear is that now that that's happened, it is going to happen elsewhere. And already, Paul Whelan, another American, has been detained. Their family is complaining tonight to us that they don't have the celebrity, they don't have the connections to do what the Griner family has.
Andrea Mitchell for us tonight. Andrea, thank you. We want to move on now to the UK, where calls for the Prime Minister's resignation are reaching a boiling point. Boris Johnson's cabinet resigning in droves, but he's digging in his heels, refusing to leave. NBC senior international correspondent Keir Simmons has more.
Tonight, Boris Johnson's leadership, for years defying political gravity, is hanging by a thread. Britain's Prime Minister, defiant.
We're going to get on with the government of the country.
Almost 40 resignations from his government, and counting, some of his most senior ministers.
Enough is enough.
Today, a devastating resignation speech about political integrity after Boris Johnson held parties in Downing Street during lockdown and then lied about them. Now he's charged with misleading his own Conservative Party after a member of his government was accused of sexual misconduct while drunk in a London club.
Yes, I think it was a mistake.
He apologised, but many see it as too little, too late.
What a pathetic spectacle. Exactly. The dying act of his political career is to parrot that nonsense.
President Biden faces losing an ally over Ukraine. Just a month ago, President Zelensky praised Boris Johnson as a true friend. Tonight, Prime Minister Johnson determined to cling on.
When we had the biggest war in Europe for 80 years, Mr. Speaker, that is exactly the moment that you'd expect a government to continue with its work, not to walk away.
All right, Keir Simmons joins us now live from London. And Keir, nearly 40 resignations so far. Will Boris Johnson have to resign himself?
You know, Tom, tonight Boris Johnson is refusing to resign. Two ways in which this crisis on this side of the pond may resonate with folks on that side of the pond, Tom. This talk of integrity, Boris Johnson's integrity, but also the integrity of the political system of democracy. And there are those comparing what is happening with Boris Johnson to President Trump at the end of his presidency, trying to hang on. Boris Johnson now trying to hang on because, Tom, his own cabinet were in Downing Street tonight to tell him he should resign. He said, I am not prepared to. Stunning scenes. a quarter of his government have gone. It's never been seen before in British political history.
And Keir, tonight there's talk of a constitutional crisis. Is it getting that bad there?
It is potentially going to get that bad, Tom. Here's how that works. If Boris Johnson's party goes to him and says, we think you should go, and perhaps even threatens a vote to get him out, he may say, I'm going to call a general election. He has to go to the Queen to ask for that. Now, the Queen may feel that she can't grant him a general election because there's still a large Conservative party and there could be another leader. That would be the kind of constitutional crisis. Another deep worry, Tom, and I mentioned it in my piece, is that Britain has led, and Boris Johnson has led in support of Ukraine. And with this crisis, Boris Johnson going, we could see months of political crisis in the UK. I think if they're not worried in the Biden White House about this right now, they should be, Tom.
Keir Simmons for us tonight. Keir, we thank you for that. We want to stay in London. Now to a rare joint warning from U.S. and UK intelligence agencies. They're raising the alarm about China and new covert threats the country may pose to the West and to neighboring Taiwan. NBC Stephen Romo has more.
Tonight, an unprecedented warning from the world's top intelligence agencies. In their first ever joint speech, FBI Director Chris Wray and his British counterpart, MI5 Director Ken McCullum, underscored what they say are growing threats, spying, hacking, and other covert activity from China.
We consistently see that it's the Chinese government that poses the biggest long-term threat to our economic and national security.
The widespread Western assumption that growing prosperity within China and increasing connectivity with the West would automatically lead to greater political freedom has, I'm afraid, been shown to be plain wrong.
As the U.S. heightens warnings about China, MI5 is now saying its efforts to investigate China's intelligence activities have grown sevenfold since just 2018. Plus, the intelligence agencies saying China is making moves to protect its own economy on another front, to guard against possible future financial sanctions from the West. After Russia invaded Ukraine, sanctions have cost billions of dollars globally. But even more Western businesses have deep roots in China. The FBI director warning a possible invasion of Taiwan and the economic ripple effects could be far more costly and far more dangerous.
The Chinese government is set on stealing your technology, whatever it is that makes your industry tick, and using it to undercut your business and dominate your market. And they're set on using every tool at their disposal to do it.
And regulators say China may already have a secret weapon, your phone. Last week, an FCC commissioner warned that TikTok is feeding sensitive user data from its app directly to Beijing.
It's a really popular app. Millions of people are using it. But really, that's just the sheep's clothing. Underneath the data that it's pulling, it really functions as a sophisticated surveillance tool.
He demanded in a letter to Apple and Google that they stop offering the massively popular video app altogether. So far, neither has pulled the app. TikTok told NBC News, quote, engineers in locations outside of the U.S., including China, can be granted access to U.S. user data on an as-needed basis under strict controls. China has not responded to the joint press conference, but has previously denied espionage tactics. For example, in January, China's foreign ministry denying allegations of a spy exerting influence in British Parliament, saying, quote, China has always adhered to the principle of non-interference in other countries' internal affairs, and that certain people may have watched too many 007 movies. But the U.S. and UK agencies coming together against this perceived threat.
Together, we're an awfully formidable team.
All right, Stephen Romo joins us now from our studio in New York. A lot of concerning warnings about activities from the Chinese government, but the TikTok warning probably stands out to many people. Do we know if anything's being done to protect user data?
Yeah, of course, TikTok is a wildly popular app, Tom, but many people have been raising this alarm for a while, a couple of years now. Senators Mark Warner and Marco Rubio are calling on the Federal Trade Commission to investigate that app as well, saying they fear TikTok is just not being honest with how it uses private user data. TikTok responded to the senators just last week, acknowledging China-based employees do have access to U.S. user data and what they said was a limited capacity, but the company says it has never shared U.S. user data with the Chinese government. Tom?
All right, Stephen Romo, we appreciate it. Still ahead tonight, from the red carpet to the big house, the major sentence just handed down for former Cheer star Jerry Harris after he was convicted of federal sex crimes. Plus, the new video showing a driver trapped inside a burning car, officers struggling to get him out, how he was finally pulled to safety. And Carlos Santana collapsing on stage, what his manager says happened, and an update on his condition. Stay with us. All right, back now with a fiery car rescue caught on camera. Police in New Jersey saving a man trapped inside of a burning car. Body cams capturing the dramatic moments officers grabbed the driver just as flames spread inside. Here's NBC's Emily Ikeda.
It's in moments like this, every second matters.
All right.
A trio of officers furiously trying to pull a driver from his burning car over the weekend. At this point, police in Ridgefield Park, New Jersey, had already busted open the car window and used fire extinguishers to slow the blaze's spread. The 54-year-old had been locked inside from an electrical issue with the vehicle.
It felt like we only had seconds and, we had to get him out as quick as we can.
Was there ever concern that you could be injured? Were you worried about your own safety?
Looking back, I realized how close I was to the flames, and I could feel the heat behind me, but my focus was solely on him and getting him out.
With quick thinking and all their strength, officers Anthony D'Elia, Nick Dalto, and Sergeant Nick Triano were able to pull the driver to safety. Only seconds later, the car was completely engulfed. The driver was able to go home that same day.
Yes.
Is this what motivates you?
Yeah. For me, I know personally, I'm sure these guys too, was making sure that happened that night.
A life-saving and life-changing rescue. Is this a night that you will never forget?
As long as I live, I'll remember every single detail of that night. So.
Emily Ikeda, NBC News, Ridgefield, New Jersey.
An incredible rescue. When we come back, the explosion investigation in Georgia. A mysterious monument turned state landmark blown up. What authorities say happened at the site that already fuels several conspiracy theories. Stay with us. All right, we're back with Top Stories newsfeed, and we begin with the verdict in the murder of rapper Nipsey Hussle. A Los Angeles jury finding Eric Holder Jr. guilty of first-degree murder. Nipsey, a hip-hop artist, community leader, and father, was shot and killed outside of his L.A. clothing store back in 2019. Multiple witnesses reported seeing Holder fire the gun. He's now facing life in prison. Legendary musician Carlos Santana is recovering tonight after collapsing on stage. Cell phone video shows medical workers attending to Santana after he passed out during a set near Detroit. The 74-year-old was carried off stage and taken to the hospital for observation. His manager says it was a result of heat exhaustion and dehydration, but that he's doing well. Former Cheer star Jerry Harris has been sentenced to 12 years in prison. The 22-year-old pleaded guilty in February in charges of child pornography and engaging in sexual contact with minors. Prosecutors argued Harris, who was the breakout star of the Netflix documentary series, used his celebrity status to prey on underage boys. An investigation is also underway in Georgia after an explosion at a state landmark. Authorities say a group of people detonated an explosive device at the Georgia Guidestones. So far, no arrest on injuries reported. The 19-foot monument, sometimes called America's Stonehenge, is located about 30 miles northeast of Athens. The structure's origin remains a mystery, and it has been part of several conspiracy theories. As we continue our coverage from Highland Park, the nation grapples with yet another mass shooting. The evidence is becoming increasingly clear. The gun violence epidemic in this country is hitting one group particularly hard, and that's children. It now surpasses car accidents as the leading cause of death among kids and teens in the U.S. Gabe Gutierrez takes us inside one hospital trying to change that.
When Madison Blackman was rushed to the hospital, the bullet had barely missed her brain.
Immediately I knew I was going to die. I seen black. It was like ink spilled in my eyes.
A far cry from the carefree social media videos typical of so many 16-year-olds. Instead, one night in January, she says she was out in a car with friends in Brooklyn when out of nowhere,
the bullets started hitting the car. It sounded like somebody had a handful of maybe 20 balloons, and they all started popping one by one.
Did you immediately realize what it was?
Yes, I knew it was gunshots.
An ambulance took her here, the ER at Cohen Children's Medical Center, run by Northwell Health.
We've never seen numbers like this before.
Where Dr. Chetan Sathya is a pediatric trauma surgeon.
We've already seen more kids this year with bullet wounds than any other year total in history at this children's hospital.
This is the largest level 1 pediatric trauma center in the state. And over the last few months, it started screening for something different.
So on this side, it goes through the questions.
Any teenager who comes to the ER for any reason is now asked a series of what some might say are uncomfortable questions.
How often have you heard guns being shot? And in the past 6 months, including today, has someone pulled a gun on you?
Nurse Alex Pavis and her colleagues are hoping to not just treat gunshot wounds, but prevent them. Did you ever think that this would be part of your job description?
No. Never.
Shootings are now the leading cause of death for children and teens in the U.S. Every day, 22 of them are shot. The topic of guns is often seen as political, but you see it as a public health issue.
It is a public health issue. I mean, it is the #1 killer of kids in our country right now.
6 months later, Madison Blackman's physical wounds are healed. The psychological ones are not.
Why does it have to be me? What is the reason? What did I stay alive for? Why did I survive?
Do you think this has gotten worse?
Absolutely. I feel like after COVID, things have just gotten more ruthless.
Ruthless, a powerful adjective for a 16-year-old.
Being so young, it makes you feel like you have to grow up so fast in a place like this.
A young girl who instinctively knew those weren't balloons, but gunshots. Gabe Gutierrez, NBC News, New York.
A sad reality that kids already know that at that age. All right, Gabe Gutierrez for us. Now to top stories, global watch and dramatic rescues amid dangerous flooding in southern China. New video shows a rescuer pulling himself up on a rope over raging floodwaters to pull a trapped driver to safety. Take a look at this. People also forming a human chain to transport students from a school filling up with water. A typhoon causing the widespread flooding and prompting mass evacuations. And the so-called cocaine king of Milan is back in Italy after decades on the run. New video shows Rocco Morabito arriving in Rome after he was extradited from Brazil. Italian authorities have blurred his face. The 55-year-old mafia kingpin has been living in South America under a fake name and briefly escaped capture before his arrest in Brazil last year. He's been sentenced to 30 years in prison for establishing key drug smuggling routes from South America into Italy. All right, coming up, World Hunger Warning, the alarming new report showing nearly 30% of the world's population is facing food insecurity. What's driving it and why it's expected to get worse? Stay with us. And we're back with some alarming news from the UN. Hunger around the globe surged in 2021, despite COVID stabilizing with the introduction of vaccines. Rising food and fuel costs combined with climate change impacting hundreds of millions of people. Vaughn Hilliard has the report.
Tonight, a new international report released with a dire global outlook, detailing a rise of millions around the world hungry and malnourished, a harrowing increase from just a few years ago. Now, 1 in 10 humans are suffering from hunger.
We had hoped that with COVID stabilizing, we would see a reduction of that impact. But we actually saw towards later in 2021 that food prices increased.
This report, conducted by multiple international food security programs, including UNICEF and the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, saying between 702 million to 828 million people were affected by hunger in 2021. That's an increase of more than 150 million people from 2 years ago.
Well, the numbers are depressing, but they're not unexpected. This sort of bigger jump, particularly from 2019 to 2022, goes hand in hand with what you expect in the COVID pandemic as people's economic situations have unfortunately gone downhill.
The numbers are even more striking when including those who are severely or moderately food insecure, rising to 2.3 billion people last year, according to the organizations. That's nearly 30% of the world population.
I think We're likely to see these inequalities worsen and worsen, particularly for the world's poorest.
There was hope for a recovery after 2020's debilitating pandemic consequences, but world hunger further expanded.
The accumulation of the COVID-19 crisis, of conflict, and of climate change. And with the conflict in Ukraine, we see that gets worse. We see the food, fuel, and fertilizer prices increase. And that further affects people's access to food.
Russia's war in Ukraine also cutting off a major market for the world's wheat supply, causing surges in pricing. The global volatility fueling protests around the world over persistent high food prices. In some countries, internal debates over how much food they are exporting despite demands at home, leaving other import-reliant countries even more strapped. The report suggesting that today's current drivers could intensify the world's hunger problem in the future. Quote, conflict, climate extremes, and economic shocks, combined with growing inequalities. The issue at stake is not whether adversities will continue to occur or not, but how we must take bolder action to build resilience against future shocks.
Now, Tom, when we're talking about reversing course from here, of course, global instability makes this tough. From the pandemic to climate events to wars, being able to control those events is difficult when we're talking about tackling food shortages and hunger. But one of the focus points in this report is urging policymakers in countries to reduce trade barriers for more nutritious food and establishing controlled pricing or subsidies for those more nutritious foods. Of course, the nutritional value is key here when we're talking about food security. Tom?
Vaughn Hilliard with an in-depth look tonight at the state of hunger on this planet. Vaughn, we thank you for that. And when we come back, raising the bar, the emotional moment when a law school student realizes her dream and the one who inspired her. Finally tonight, passing the bar. One California woman's tears of joy after passing the exam went viral on TikTok. But beyond that viral moment, her story, the judge that inspired her to pursue a career in law, and the message tonight, hard work pays off.
It's not the end of the world. Stop. We're not going to cry.
It's the video seen more than 1.6 million times on TikTok. That's Christina Galjan holding back tears, anxious for the results of the California bar exam.
I don't think I've ever been that nervous. I was sitting at my desk and I just saw my hands just shaking.
Christina's career in law inspired by a class she took in undergrad. Los Angeles Judge Eric Taylor's Pop Culture in the Law class at Loyola Marymount.
I wanted a class that talked about the journey to being successful in your life overall.
And that gave me a completely different perspective. I thought the law, like the legal field, was very rigid. I realized like these people are real humans. Like they're not like robots. They could, they have regular lives and families, and their life isn't just their job.
With this new perspective in mind, Christina didn't hesitate to enroll in law school. Prepping for the bar exam took months.
I took it as if it was my job. I would go through the lectures, do practice exams, do, practice tests.
So after years of hard work and with her family by her side, this moment.
You passed? Daylight.
Oh my God!
As the tears dried, Christina Galjan knew just who to thank.
I never thought that when I started that class that I would have somebody come back and say, hey, you really changed my life, and now I'm a lawyer.
Judge Taylor is now presiding Judge Taylor of the Los Angeles Superior Court, the largest trial court in the country, swearing in a former student and encouraging her to keep raising the bar.
It is my honor to swear in our newest lawyer to the state of California. When I swore her in, I pointed to the chair behind me and said, that's going to be your chair, the presiding judge of Los Angeles. That'll be your chair one day. And I'm waiting to see that. And I'm sure she will, because she's just a terrific intellect and has an amazing drive. Congratulations to our newest lawyer in California.
Thank you.
And it's a pleasure to welcome you, and I can't wait till the day that you come and argue before my court.
Thank you so much.
Christina reminding us all to celebrate the journey.
My career is only just starting, and you kind of forget that sometimes when you're in the middle of it. And then you go like, wait, no, now I could, defend myself in his court, or I could become a judge if I want to do that. So it was a really awesome feeling. And I was like, wow, this is the next step into my career.
If you need a lawyer, you know who to call. Thanks so much for watching Top Story tonight. I'm Tom Llamas in Highland Park, Illinois. And tonight we want to leave you with these images. Another memorial growing in yet another American city ripped apart by gun violence. The country once again joining a community in grief as it learns how to heal. Good night.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.